And now we move on to story number 3, and this is a quick one. The COVID vaccine has arrived in Washington State. COVID vaccine arrived at UW Medicine today, and the first people that will start to get their doses will start getting it here in Washington tomorrow. It's very interesting to me that the staff at the White House, the president, his closest inner circle in Congress, many of them who have called COVID I can't say it because then I'll be accused of saying it not in the context, but saying that COVID isn't, and yet they've moved themselves to the front of the line for the vaccine. Isn't it amazing? It's so amazing. And there's no word if anybody in the incoming Biden administration is part of the group that will be first in line to get that. Here in Washington State, the priority is going to our first responders, our medical workers in hospitals, and then the second layer will go to residents of nursing homes. Nursing home residents won't start seeing their first doses until the end of November. Under the backdrop of this vaccine arriving, we rolled over 300,000 American dead, and we now are past more Americans who have died than all combat deaths in World War II. Donald Trump has overseen several of the deadliest days when it comes to individual daily events in U.S. history. That includes hanging Hurricane Maria around his neck in 2017 and almost 3,000 people dying in Puerto Rico from that storm and a complete lack of federal response. Yeah, I'm a little salty about the Donald today. That's really clear. And here's the other thing that people need to understand. If you think we're all going to not be wearing masks in 60 days, holding hands and cheering on the latest Star Wars movie in a movie theater, you couldn't be more mistaken. Only 50% of Americans say that they're willing to get a vaccine. And the Pfizer vaccine is have an effectiveness to, if you at 50%, to kind of build that magical herd immunity, a term that people love to abuse. To get to herd immunity, you need about 70 to 75% people vaccinated. And there's still a lot of unknowns and questions on the vaccine. How long is it effective is another excellent question to bring up, because we're not going to know how long it's effective. And to that point, something that we learned is, when we look at a disease like measles, is the measles vaccine doesn't necessarily last forever. Now, that isn't to say that the COVID vaccine is a bad thing or that people are going to start growing horns out of their heads or their bodies are going to explode. I don't believe any of that stuff. But another challenge that you have is our minority communities, particularly the Black and the indigenous communities, are looking at this vaccine and going, yeah, right. And they're not very eager to be at the front of the line, because our government has had a long history of telling the Black and indigenous community, we have a vaccination for you, come up to the front of the line. Do some search on the Tuskegee Airmen for starters to educate yourself on what we as a country have done to these communities. And so there is a long road ahead for us, but I don't want to rain on this parade. It is a medical miracle and a miracle of science, what we have achieved as a world and as a nation. But there's one clear thing also we need to bring up. The Pfizer vaccine was not part of Operation Warp Speed. They did not participate in government money or work with the government in the development of their vaccine. Further, Pfizer went to the administration over the summer and says you can reserve more doses for the American people now if you'd like, and if we can't deliver, we'll give you the money back. And the administration said no. And in an embarrassment to U.S. greatness and how we love to pat ourselves on the back on how amazing we are, other places in the world got the vaccine before the American people. And who jumped to the front of the line? Like a bunch of Russian oligarchs or a dictatorial government. Our government leaders jumped to the front of the line, even over grandma, the elderly, and those with severe comorbidities. So forgive me if I'm mixed on our vaccine arriving to the state of Washington today. I'll keep you updated because Dr. Mrs. Malcontent is probably at the back of the line of the front of the line, if that makes sense. So she is probably at the back of the line of the first group. And with that, we're going to roll our first commercial.
side. Music has a power greater than words can really express. Songbird, sing a song to me. Let me know where I'm supposed to be. It's such a shame, yeah. Well, I was your TV girl. The EP is called Blue, and my website is classicelishamusic.com.
I can't get enough of that. It's a fantastic album. If you've not heard her music or downloaded it before, you can download on Bandcamp. You can also download on iTunes. I see that we have the link that was put up by one of the mods in the chat to her website, classicelishamusic.com. There you can also order a CD for $15, which comes with a bonus track. She is Voice of the Angel. She is a wonderful woman. And the best thing is, it is one of the easiest ways to support a BIPOC person, because when you buy her album, you put that money right in her pocket. And also, just as a reminder, if you are a Black, Indigenous person of color, or LGBTQIA small business owned by any of those groups, you too can have your commercial here on Malcontentment Happy Hour for the rock bottom price of free, zero, nada, nothing. You just have to let us know that you want to do your ad. We'll even help you make one. And with